Imagine if I had told you these things in like 2016. The U.S. men's national team played a very, very boring draw against Bosnia and Herzegovina in their first match of a year in which they will not be going to the World Cup. Hope Solo, in her campaign to be president of U.S. soccer, wants to sue the federation. And Mix Diskerud has signed with Manchester City. Would you have believed any of this?
I don't believe it now.
By the way, we should tell you that this is USfanTV, a show where we talk about soccer as it relates to the United States. I am Pat and he is Chris.
As always, I am Chris. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Chris. So yeah, the game. I guess we start with the game.
I guess.
I'd really rather just move on, but
yeah.
We should tell you one other thing we're going to talk about tonight, and the long list of things we're going to talk about tonight. The number of teammates that are already out, or a major one that appears to be out tomorrow at Dortmund, and how that might affect Mr. Pulisic there. So that's a real thing that we can talk about. But I guess, Chris, why don't you tell us your thoughts on that game Sunday night?
Well, I suppose first I should talk about the field of misery that is the TNT Stadium, in which the game of which we shall not speak also claimed the US U20 women's team in its championship against Mexico. They lost on penalties in a game that was perhaps overshadowed by the disappointment or lack of care that U.S. soccer gave to it later that night against Bosnia and Herzegovina. It was supposedly a game. That's what I was told. I kind of feel like everyone who attended and everyone who watched was sold a bill of goods, and that's all there was.
But what did people expect? I mean, we don't have a president, we don't have a coach, we don't have players. Those weren't our players. Those were just guys for the most part. We're playing it friendly in a non-FIFA date. And I mean, there appears to be nobody running the ship. I mean, they're still charging outlandish ticket prices for that, which, I mean, seriously, $135, $145 for sidelines. U.S. soccer should have made the tickets $10 and sold the place out. And
to me, that was the greatest travesty.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess the sad thing about that game overall, for a second, is that there was so little expected of it, and it still managed to underwhelm.
Yeah, I didn't finish it. I didn't care.
No one finished it. It wasn't worth finishing. It was its own finish. And a very sad, disgusting one at that. I mean, I think the biggest travesty of it all is truly the ticket prices, because it just shows how far out of touch U.S. soccer is and how little they care about improving. And maybe it's because everyone looks at it as dead man walking now. Who cares? Not my problem. Dave Sarkhan says, not my team. Sunil says, not my soccer federation anymore. And so no one felt the need to do anything, but it's like they gave so little. They sort of accepted that no one was going to watch this game, and so did nothing to market it, did nothing to get it out there, and then did nothing to get people to attend, but still went, well, we're not going to lower the prices. We're going to make our cut here.
And tell everybody what you paid for the opportunity to see Mr. Messi play in Barcelona just a couple weeks ago.
I paid less than $25 each for 2 tickets. I mean, it was maybe 22, 24, something that I paid. Yeah. And that's with like fees, because I had to buy through a secondary site. They were €14 tickets. And I was in the second row of the first balcony, straight behind the goal. All the goals were right in front of me. I mean, I was 40 yards maybe from Messi and both the goals he scored in the game. And these guys were seeing Giazi Zardes, for what I can't explain, And to what end? I mean, I saw Christian make a comment before. You know, why did he go? Why did Sarakan go full on Bruce Arena in this game? And I don't get it. You know, what I guess really disappointed me, not just that U.S. Soccer didn't care about this, but that like it was like everyone didn't know what the hell to do here. You know, Sarakan's not making any movement.
It's clear no one's running the ship.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely,
It's
absolutely.
very clear. Yeah.
But it was like, okay, why aren't you at least giving, I don't know, the young guys a chance then? Like, you know, he put in 3 defensive midfielders. What's the point in that? You know, where's the value in that? We're just trying to control the field the same way. I mean, essentially what we did was go out and try to accomplish the same goals that we had under Bruce Arena, which, okay, fine, I guess. You know, I understood why Bruce did the things he did, but he was playing with the deck he had and trying to assure an outcome. In this case, no outcome is necessary. If we lost this game, I mean, it would have sucked because we were playing a crappy, terrible Bosnian team, but so what? You know, you'd rather see them try to achieve something than, I don't know, half-ass a lame draw.
I think I said the only thing I cared about were, and it's the only thing that really mattered at all, were any kind of individual performance that I thought was exciting. By the way, your mic is rubbing against your zipper again.
Great.
That thing.
Sorry.
Yeah, any kind of individual performance, maybe you could take something away from that. But I mean, as far as tactics or lineups or anything, it doesn't. There's an old Jerry Seinfeld joke, and I'm going to butcher the routine, but basically it's that the only thing we really care about in sports are the jerseys, because the players come and go, but the jerseys are the one things that we keep cheering for. So we're essentially cheering for laundry. That's the only thing that was there. You know, there was a few guys, Tyler Adams or whoever, who we might be excited about, but it was basically you were watching the shirts that we used to cheer for.
Yeah.
And it didn't. There's no link to the past, and there's no link to the future right now.
Yeah.
None of this mattered, and it did.
Yeah.
And for me to say that I didn't want to watch the national team play, I think it's the first game since I started watching the national team where I didn't really care to watch it. But I didn't. I only watched 20 minutes or something and gave up because this didn't matter. And it was an empty crowd because U.S. Soccer doesn't know how to price things. And I get that they have systems in place to maximize revenue for a given game. But I think all that went out the window when you're playing a cupcake
everything we live for went out the window. If nothing else, this should have been borderline a free game. This should have been like, this is our gift to you guys. Just come and watch.
It's good. Build some goodwill for once.
Exactly. Yeah. For once, treat us like, I don't know, more than just lackeys who are there to serve you. Treat us like actual customers. Respect us a little bit. You know, say, we're sorry. The players have apologized for failing, but those guys have to live with, they failed themselves, you know, like more than the hate, the anger, the sadness that we all felt, the players had to feel that themselves because they were going to play in a World Cup and they fucked it up. U.S. Soccer's like, meh, give us all your money anyway. What are you going to do about it? Like, part of me is surprised they didn't roll out some crappy, like, one-off jersey just for this game.
With special numbers on the back.
Yeah. Oh, God. For those of you who know, I hate the special number thing. Even when I think the numbers are kind of cool, I hate it because all it is a ripoff to get you to give them free money. Oh, because there's different stickers on this jersey. So what? I get angry about that stuff, but whatever.
Yeah, it's, you know, in March when our European players play a friendly against France, that's something to watch. Even if we don't have a coach in place by then, and I don't think we will have a president in place by then, unless something crazy happens. And
you know, hopefully at least there'll be a plan in place then. And you know, of people who have said, like, you know, people were giving Alexi Lalas a hard time during the game about like, oh, this is what you asked for and whatever, because he won't give an opinion or what, like the proper opinion. And his thing was, I felt like there should have been a new coach the day after TNT. Now, I don't think that's the right opinion, But I don't, what the hell. This was such a waste. I feel like continuing down an argument trail here is just a waste of time because this game was so stupid.
So before that happened, earlier that day, and now with some context, it makes a little more sense. But earlier that day, there's a tweet from Umbro congratulating Nick Diskerud on signing a 4.5-year deal with Manchester United. And I just was like,
Manchester City.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Manchester City. I was so confused. And now it appears that City has figured out that if they don't want to give a cut back to MLS in a transfer fee, they could terminate the deal that they had with the New York City, their team, and then sign him to a new deal with Manchester City and then move him. And then they can actually keep all of the transfer, all the sale price, instead of sharing some of it with MLS. That appears to be what's going on here, or some sort of shell game that's similar to that. But the Jack Harrison move looks a little more, although he deserves it, it looks a little more
understandable.
Yeah. But that seems to follow the same pattern. So that seems to be what they've figured out to do. But for a while there, I still don't understand why Umbro is congratulating him on a move that's not really even a move. That's just he's being parked right now. But I remember thinking, like, Leipzig's been telling us Mix is elite for the entire time we've been doing this show, like a year and a half. I'm like, maybe, am I wrong about everything? Maybe I'm just wrong about everything. Like it just was such a strange day. And, now we get it. But at the time I'm like, what? Like, I was thinking, did they not realize they had him in their system? Did they think this was a new find?
Did 2017 just continue right into 2018? Landon Donovan's going to Mexico. Mix is signing with City.
And now Josie might be going to Club America.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening, but
I hope it does. Actually, I think that would be awesome.
What do I know? I don't. You can't.
Cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria.
Predict any of this anymore. So I don't know. It's all confusing. Yeah, and again, imagine if we told you a year ago that Hope Solo would be running to replace Sunil Gulati. Just that in and of itself. And now she's got ideas. She says that we're in violation of the 1978 Ted Stevens Amateur Sports Act, or title something like that. And basically it means that U.S. Soccer is too much of a commercial entity and has not done enough to grow the game in the U.S. And she says that the United States Olympic Committee should sue them because they're in violation of that.
Yeah,
there's hope have a point here.
Essentially, essentially her point is that U.S. Soccer, in its monopolistic control of soccer in the United States, is required to truly support and fund amateur soccer, and it hasn't done that because it has. And she quotes some things that Sunil has said about basically the business of U.S. soccer and its relationship with somewhat she's pointing at MLS as well, and saying that together they have co-opted the strength of U.S. soccer and taken over its monopoly and forced it into only funding professional men's soccer. I think she has a little bit of a point in that's right. She's right. That's where all the money really is. Now, having said that, there's still the argument, and I mean, it's much like Sunil said when there was the talk of paying the men and women, that there's a difference between equal and equitable. That, if they paid them equal, they're not earning equal revenues for U.S. soccer. They're not necessarily earning equal revenues elsewhere. So there's still that argument. She's a little bit treading on, I would say, the poor relationship or poor feelings for some and U.S. soccer right now, as well as kind of some of the things that she's thrown her name behind before, and that's that the growth of the women's game. So she has a bit of a point here, but does she have enough to legally stand on it? I don't think so. It doesn't sound like it. Plus, I just don't see the Olympic Committee coming out and filing suit against U.S. soccer. What would they get out of it?
Because Hope Solo asked them to.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like these are things that I never thought I would say.
Yeah.
I don't even know, man. This is just too much. It's just there's too many. Yeah, and I mean, just a week before, another stranger thing. Landon Donovan's playing in Mexico now. Like, what is happening? What is this just? I don't know. Is this just a big joke? Are we in the Matrix and we're being
the last year has kind of been a big joke on all of us.
We should also. What? You have an idea? You have a theory?
Oh no, maybe we are in the Matrix, and
the upside down.
Yeah, we're in the other. I mean, look, I'm trying to keep the mic off this. Everything about the zipper is right in the wrong place. So everything about the zipper is right where U.S. soccer is right now.
We are Arsenal fans, as most of you who regularly watch the show know. And if you're new to the show, we'll tell you we're Arsenal fans. And we are on the eve of, in fact, it is the final day of the transfer deadline in England. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is apparently in London, but there's a whole
series of dominoes that must fall,
that maybe or may not be controlled by Olivier Giroud's wife and her disinterest in living in Dortmund, that the whole bunch of dominoes need to fall for this to happen. And it'd be a very Arsenal thing to get to this point and then fail. So I'm not saying that Aubameyang's going to Arsenal, but it kind of looks like he might if everything falls into place. What does that do? And we should also mention that Mark Bautra just left Dortmund today, and Neven Subotic, the American who's not an American, left earlier this week or late last week. So two big names there, but mainly, what does the Aubameyang departure, if it happens, if it goes through, mean for Mr. Pulisic? See, I thought
certainly is interesting.
I'll give you this thought before. If it was a straight swap with Giroud, I thought this may benefit Pulisic because it seems like Aubameyang has a hard time getting on the end of Pulisic's crosses, at least with headers. That's the one thing Giroud's very good at. So I thought that maybe from an assist standpoint, it would benefit him. But obviously, Giroud is not the player that Aubameyang is.
I don't think Giroud is truly cut out for the top end of the Bundesliga. I think there's too much back and forth in games. It's too wide open, and that's just not. I mean, look, the guy's biggest weakness, the reason he's perhaps not what you'd call an elite footballer, is that he's just too slow. So I'm not sure where he fits in there in the Dortmund side either, because much of their attack is also involves speed. To some extent, it's similar to what Arsenal's plan is a lot of the time. They have gone a little bit more in that they have a true striker in their setup. They have a little bit more of a target man. So I guess that sort of fits for him. But on the whole, I look at it and say, he's not really a guy who's going to help them play off of anyone. It's almost like he'd have to get a head start and like try and just stay ahead in order to head balls in or something. So I don't totally see where he fits in there. Having said that, I hope he goes there over Chelsea, but that's just kind of my personal feeling. But whatever. I guess what stands out to me now. Granted, at the same time he's making this move, they could be getting Marco Reus back. So you could also see another guy who then comes in as sort of that striker,
That would, yes.
floating forward, something, however they're going to truly replace Aubameyang. It would seem to me that falls onto Rice anyway. And maybe that means then that they do have room for a target man in Giroud, or maybe it means that Giroud goes back to being a second choice anyway. Now, granted, I mean, it's Royce, so he could be injured again in like a week and a half. But I don't know. I mean, between that and then like Peter Stoger coming in, there have been so many changes at Dortmund in the last month. It's interesting what could happen. I think this does put more of the weight of the team and perhaps of like in a leadership of the team on Pulisic's shoulders.
Yes, that's the thing.
Which
that's
could be good for him in terms of that's exactly what we want him to do is get experience at that because he's carrying the U.S. from now on until he gets too old to play anymore, or I don't know, we uncover like the next Messi or something. He's carrying the U.S. So we want him to see more experience like that. Does it necessarily help him right now? I don't know, because it seems to me that with all that weight, with all that responsibility, it comes at the same time that you still want to see him improving as a player. And does he maybe miss out on some of those opportunities to improve as a player because he's taking on other responsibilities?
Yeah, I don't know that he's ready for all this, but the one thing that I took from this was that he's in a time of change for Dortmund, he's one of the consistent points. He's been there. He's still going to be there. So I hope Marco Reus can get and remain healthy for a long time. I think that takes some of the pressure off Pulisic, having a guy of that stature and that quality when he is healthy, playing alongside him. But or if it's going to be if it's going to be Sancho, or if it's going to be what's the guy at Chelsea's name? Batshuayi, is that how you say his name?
Oh yeah.
I can never remember how to say his name. He's a good player, but again, that Pulisic is the consistent, and then that's changed in the forward lineup. So
the other thing that you have to wonder about is with these changes that shifts more responsibility, like we said, onto Pulisic, onto Kagawa, onto other guys like that, kind of in their midfield there. Do they then, the guys who look good, do then they get shipped out somewhere else? Because now, whoever succeeds now in this kind of next up role, do they become the next target for all the big clubs? Now, granted, some of that's already happening. Dembele already got the call up to Barcelona. Pulisic, we know, has been looked at by other clubs. So there is the other domino effect of this all, I guess, that not only what does it do for them there, but what does it mean to them or mean for them come the end of this summer or end of this season, I should say.
And if they don't make a Champions League spot, will that impact his decision making on maybe wanting to press forward with a move instead of staying put? I don't know. That's a lot. There's a lot of moving parts there, and we'll find out more obviously tomorrow. But yeah, it's crazy. So I mean, we're in a weird position right now. This is a very strange time for U.S. soccer. On one hand, we've got some more guys playing in Europe. It seems like at a young age, especially in Germany, than we've ever had before. On the other hand, we're in complete disarray at the federation level. We've got no head coach. We're playing meaningless games. We didn't make the World Cup. Hope Solo's trying to run. Mix is signing with Man City. It's just and Landon's out of retirement in Mexico.
Hysteria.
It's just I can't wrap my brain around all of it. So
Christian says, who do you prefer as the number 10 for the U.S., Pulisic or Andrew Carrollton? I assume that's kind of a joke. I mean, all in all, look, I'd love it if we could take some of the weight of being that number 10 off of Pulisic, because it's much like how I think Donovan struggled for so long, kind of taking on that role. Bradley struggled being sort of the one and all or one and only player out there. Tyler Adams struggled, I think, the other day in being kind of that you are the team, do everything today. So I'd love for that opportunity to take it off. Now, Carrollton's got to show something. You got to see more at the top flight level. You want to see him kind of fulfill all of his potential at Atlanta and then move on to something bigger and better. So in the meantime, I can't take anyone else seriously as a potential number 10 there. But maybe somebody like McKinney, maybe McKinney and Tyler Adams, maybe they both help take some of that weight off of Pulisic anyway and give him the freedom then to be just an offensive player or something, as opposed to having to like track back and cover all kinds of defensive ground as well. And then you lose some of his offensive attacking capabilities.
Sandra's congratulating us on
Keaton Parks is a good one as well. I should have mentioned. You're right, Christian.
On stealing Aubameyang from her favorite team. I feel kind of bad about that, but we'll see. Maybe it'll all fall apart. He'll be heading back your way in Dortmund. I'm sure won't be happy about that. So it seems it was very similar to the Alexis Sanchez.
Yeah, I think at this point they'd like him to move, if nothing else, because it's sort of like Alexis for the last few months.
Right. What else do we have to talk about? David Beckham has a team finally in MLS. So 2-3 years after it was supposed to happen, it finally happens. But I guess they've got the land ready to go to build a stadium, and so good luck to him, I suppose. And Zlatan might be on the way to LA Galaxy yet again.
I kind of hope so.
Yeah, I hope so at this point too. I think it's time for that to happen. This is sort of like, how we would always joke that Aubameyang was always rumored to be moving and never moved, and now he finally might. Zlatan to LA Galaxy, it seems like that's been a thing for 2 years now, and it finally now might happen. So I think I don't love that MLS signs aging stars in many cases, unless they're big stars. And then it's cool to see them. And Zlatan is a big damn star. So I liked when Henry was here. I liked that Basti's here.
He's more like an Henry than, Schweinsteiger, than like Steven Gerrard. Gerrard, I thought was actually going to be an amazing signing for MLS, because I thought he still has enough in him that he could. And I mean, look, for as much as I hate Liverpool, I always thought Gerrard was amazing. But yeah, he was. I think it was just he was done. Kind of. It was like, well, it's not Liverpool. I just don't care anymore.
Yeah. So it feels like it's time. And you know what? The whole Alexis thing had me wondering. They gave him the 7 when he's playing the piano and everything. If they do bring Ronaldo back, how unhappy is Alexis going to be that he has to give up his number? Because he's going to have to give up his number.
If
he and the Dogs going to want to move elsewhere?
If Ronaldo ever came in, my guess would be he probably moves on. Not because it's a direct replacement necessarily, even just that. How even as United, how the hell could they afford it? I mean, what they're going to have to spend to get Ronaldo back, even at it could be 32 before he moves. Even at that age, like, come on, that dude's going to be ridiculously expensive. At least probably Neymar money, I'm guessing. And then you've got his ego on top of it, so he's going to expect that he gets more than Neymar's money. So part of me can't believe that he might actually end up leaving Real, period. Even though I could see him moving to like Miami and going and playing for Beckham's
Golden
team.
Balls. Yeah. Beckham will have to sign somebody big. Messi joked today that maybe we would see him playing there in a few years, but I don't see Messi playing for any other team ever. but I said that about Steven Gerrard. So I feel like we've covered it tonight. It's a shorter show.
Yeah.
But it's just everything's just so bizarre. Bad friendlies, weird signings. I don't know. Yeah.
At least the countdown is on until we should have a president. So hopefully that means other things start falling in place soon.
Have you heard where they're hosting the vote? Do you know this fact?
Oh, God. I think I've heard this, but I can't think of it right now. Where are they saying?
Fucking SeaWorld. Yeah. Yeah. That's just amazing, isn't it? Like, SeaWorld is where this vote will take place.
Because everything else in the U.S. soccer is going about as well as trainers have at SeaWorld?
Yeah. Yeah. Free Willy. Free us from this crap. Let's start building toward the 2022 World Cup that may or may not even happen. Who knows?
No, Robert, I'm not going to watch Jonathan Gonzalez make his debut for Mexico tomorrow. I don't fault him. I'm not angry about it necessarily. I mean, I'm upset, but I see this all as U.S. soccer's fault. I noticed
blame him
for those of you who watched the halftime show on the game the other day, they still had Stewart up there, Stewart holding up there, running the company line that, oh, nope, he didn't slip through our fingers. He just made a different choice. Are you kidding me?
Is that why Thomas Rongen lied and said that he did go to the house and then he turns out he didn't? Like, he knew he was covering his ass. Like, that's... No, a guy who plays for you at all youth levels who makes a change, it's more than just he decided to make a change. And part of it's that we did miss the World Cup, I'm sure. But
and I got to look at this one as different even than like Neven Subotic or
Giuseppe Rossi.
Rossi as well. But I was going to say, what's his name? The dude from Bosnia whose brother played in the game the other night. The guy who plays for Hertha Berlin. I'm drawing a blank on it, but
somebody will tell you
who could have played for the U.S. as well, and who we kind of screwed it up. Subotic, that one definitely. Now he's softened his statements in the last 2 years, but that one's also on Thomas Rongen.
Yeah, I texted you that the other day. That's
he did not. Yeah. Subotic did not pull any punches back in the day. He admitted that was all because he felt like Rongen wronged him when he was playing for us at the U20 World Cup. I can't remember what it was. But he felt like he didn't get the playing time he wanted. He didn't get called up when he should, and then he got called up when he felt like he shouldn't have, and he felt like Rongen didn't care and didn't say the right things to him, so he just left. He softened his stance a little bit in the last few years and said he did it more for like his family and all that, but that's not the way it sounded 10 years ago or whatever it was 8 years ago, whatever the hell it was when he made that decision to not play for us.
God, imagine if we had him. Seriously.
Well, and that's it. When people say, what if the best American athletes truly played U.S. soccer? Look, I wrote a blog about this, like, I don't know, a year ago or something. Ibisevic, his name just came to me.
Everybody's saying it.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. People are talking about it. Anyway, we've had plenty of guys who would have been our greatest player ever. They just chose to play for someone else to this point. What we had talked about, and this is what we really felt was the great promise of maybe 2022, 2026, something like that, was that we could be looking at finally getting those guys who would otherwise choose someone else. And here was our big instance. I mean, kid born and raised in the U.S., grew up in the U.S. system, and we just lost them. We're now back to losing that. And this one felt like one that should have been kind of a gimme to us. And we lost that one. Now the next Rossi probably goes to Italy again. Even if Italy's in the current state where, they don't have a lot to to play for exactly either. But that look at what you're building here thing is suddenly out the window, and that's, I think, the most bitter part of the disappointment about November, about the next 4 years.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at Germany or France or Spain, they're to the point where they create so many players and there are so many dual nationals at this point
Yeah,
that they're going to lose some of them.
yeah.
And that's part of the deal. It was the whoever made the "you have taken one of our fish" comment.
Oh
We
yeah,
have
yeah.
many, many fish. When we got Julian Green and we thought we had gotten Pele. Um, it, I mean, that's the thing. You create enough that some of them get hurt and some of them go elsewhere and some of them don't pan out. But then you've got a pool of really, really good players instead of like that. It goes to show, yeah, Nevin Subotic would have been the best player we ever produced. He wouldn't have been on a lot of other teams, a
Yeah.
lot of other nations. So that's kind of where we are. We're not there. Obviously, we're not playing in the World Cup, but Holland and Italy aren't playing in the World Cup, and Chile, and we never would have said about any of those countries that they're not there. Some countries just miss, but this was more than just missing for us. There were some systematic failures here. I don't think it's quite to the level that some people think, but clearly certain things need to change, and we've talked about all those a million different times in a million different shows.
But I think the thing, back to take it back for a little bit, to the ticket prices at this game on Sunday, the scheduling of this game, the fact that the way they set up the team, if some of the players are to be believed, and that there were comments that maybe U.S. Soccer or U.S. Soccer marketing or someone had some authority or some voice in who was chosen for the team during qualifying, they've had their finger in a lot of things here. They had their hands all over this game and just dropped it. It shows, I think, just how far out of whack their priorities and their perspective truly is. And until that's fixed, it may be a little bit like Arsenal, to talk about something else we've mentioned tonight. You can bring in new players, and you can go lose to Swansea because you haven't changed the fundamental issue right at the heart of it all. So I don't know. I hope that with the election coming, that there will be a renewed effort to improve what U.S. soccer is doing, and to look for a new future, and to then set things up to aim for that future, and to develop the players to try to achieve that future. But until some of these things are in place, who knows?
I asked TJ this last week, and we'll end on this note, but do you have any sense of who is going to win this presidential race?
No. I mean, my great fear is it's Kathy Carter.
Well, that's the thing. We know that Winalda and Kyle Martino have done a good job rallying public support.
Yeah.
Winalda has the pro rel people, has a large chunk of soccer Twitter, has a lot of the different. I mean, to be fair, these are real votes now. A lot of the different state federations and that sort of thing. Kyle Martino similarly has a lot of public support, but the wild card is Kathy and Cordero, and how much private support they already have, and whose vote's going to be split off. I mean, I don't think that either of the lawyers are going to win. I don't think Hope's going to win. Not to say the lawyers aren't; they've both got good ideas, but I think it'll probably end up being Winalda, Kyle, or Kathy Carter. But I have no idea. Like, it could. Who knows anymore? I don't know.
Yeah.
We're going to find out soon, though, at SeaWorld. Shamu will know. Is Shamu still with us?
I don't know.
Isn't like SeaWorld Aren't people mad at them because they
Well, yeah,
have
because
whales?
because if you ever watched that Blackfish
I
documentary
didn't watch the
about
Blackfish.
how they abuse animals, basically, and then because the animals aren't getting the right, because they're being forced to like do things like essentially dance for people, then they do things like drown trainers.
Yeah. I haven't watched the Blackfish documentary. I have watched Black Mirror, and there's some animal abuse in episode 1 of that. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen it, go see it. All right, this is US Fan TV. We do shows on Tuesday nights and sometimes other nights, but mainly Tuesday nights, where we talk about soccer as it relates to the US. We have social media things. We have Twitter, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have uh, Craigslist. We're on Craigslist, but I mean, you either know or you don't know where we are at this point. And we have YouTube, but you know that because you're watching. Subscribe if you haven't. We are almost to 1,200 subscribers, so thank you for that. We still get a good amount of views for a show about a national team that didn't make the World Cup. So thank you. Thanks for tuning in as you have for a long time. Thanks for telling your friends and all that stuff. We appreciate it. Chris, do you have any final words?
Not tonight. Thanks, everybody. You're done.
All right. You're done.